Welcome to Ventichic, your go-to spot for inspiration among future billionaires. We've all seen the remarkable ascent of three watches, united by a shared history. About half a century ago, when these timepieces first debuted, they faced harsh criticism. But why are they now nearly unattainable? Let's dive into the incredible journey of these exceptional watches. The story begins in 1968 at the Concourse de Geneve, an annual event where watchmakers vied for precision supremacy. That year, Seiko, a Japanese brand taking on the Swiss giants, fell short. They didn't even make it to the podium, landing somewhere between 4th and 10th. Yet, the crucial shift wasn't merely Swiss domination on the podium. That had been the norm. It was the emergence of Swiss quartz technology taking the spotlight. Fearing a potential tech leap, a group of Swiss watchmakers banded together to preemptively develop their own quartz movement. The B21 quartz movement might have won one battle, but the war unfolded differently. In 1969, Seiko unveiled the Astron, its first commercially available quartz watch. Initially pricey, it soon became more budget-friendly as technology advanced, dealing a blow to the Swiss watch industry. Much like the decline of VHS, the mechanical watch became obsolete, replaced by technology that was cheaper, more precise, and easier to manufacture. Swiss watchmakers faced a significant challenge. A three-pronged approach became imperative. Some watchmakers ventured into new technologies while upholding their renowned quality and prestige, as exemplified by brands like Rolex and Omega. However, these endeavors proved costlier compared to the competition. Others changed a different course, exploring affordable quartz watches as seen with Swatch, a venture that eventually enjoyed remarkable success but diverged from traditional Swiss watchmaking's essence. Then, there was a third high-stakes option. Failure meant joining the countless watchmakers whose businesses had already crumbled. The concept was straightforward. With Swiss watchmaking no longer synonymous with practicality and precision, there remained one last card to play: luxury. You see, 50 years ago, the finest watchmakers were celebrated not only for their impeccably crafted movements, but also for their exquisite timepieces. Collectors competed for the most extravagant displays of social prominence, epitomized by the 1927 Patek Philippe Super Complication. But the Great Depression forced luxury into obscurity, hidden beneath understated wristwatches. On April 6, 1971, George Goulet, Audemars Piguet's CEO, called young designer Gerald Genter on the eve of the Basel Watch Fair. Struggling since the Depression and facing the Seiko Astron's challenge, Goulet gave Genter a clear task: design an unparalleled watch. Genter knew his fate was sealed. The rest is history. The Royal Oak, originally named the Safari, carried a staggering price tag, surpassing even the cost of a Rolex Submariner and pricier than a complex gold Audemars Piguet watch. Critics ridiculed it, but customers had a different response. They bought it in droves, reminiscent of the divide between critics and audience scores on Rotten Tomatoes for films like 2019's The Lion King and The Rise of Skywalker. The revival of the Swiss watchmaking's opulent era sparked mixed opinions. The Royal Oak's simplicity and steel construction made its high price seem unnecessary, yet that very price tag became its allure. Patek Philippe, facing tough times once more, took notice. 4 years after the Royal Oak's debut, just as they had in the 1930s with the Calatrava wristwatch, Patek Philippe averted bankruptcy by enlisting a fresh designer to embrace the new trend. This time, they hired the same Gerald Genter, the designer of the Royal Oak. With another tight deadline, Genter crafted a watch with similar themes and materials for the same reasons. A year later, the oldest watchmaker in the trio reluctantly joined the movement. In a hasty nod to its 222nd birthday, Project 222 was born at Vacheron Constantin, shrouded in secrecy. Vacheron Constantin aimed at avoiding mirroring its counterparts, so they engaged designer George Heisek instead of Genter, keeping his involvement hidden for decades. The choice was understandable, given the rich history, as they ventured into crafting something quite pricey, essentially parlor tricks. Only 500 units were produced, a stark contrast to the thousands made by the other two, and it didn't even receive a proper name, simply referred to as the Sol Vander de Vacheron Constantin, a nod to Vacheron Constantin's 222 years of existence. All three manufacturers survived, and are renowned for their watches from that era. However, it wasn't all smooth sailing thereafter. The 70s luxury rise gave way to 80s excess, a decade that ushered in a new era of wealth. Ordinary people could amass fortunes in stocks, and banking shifted from safe and conservative to extravagant and avaricious. But the party didn't last. The 1987 stock market crash surpassed its 1929 counterpart, causing a downturn greater than the Great Depression. The days of extravagance ended, and the once mighty grills of a Ferrari Testarossa seemed more ludicrous than impressive. Power suits went out of fashion. A new era dawned for Swiss watchmaking as wristwatches returned to understated elegance. This time, the enduring appreciation for mechanical watchmaking, rekindled in the 70s and 80s, held greater sway. A Patek Philippe might measure just 36mm across, but it brimmed with complications. So, how did the once out-of-favor angular 70s designs find newfound popularity today? Amidst global turmoil, a select few quietly steered the industry's course. In 1978, pocket watch collectors deeply rooted in mechanical watchmaking's history turned their gaze to wristwatches. Why? Collectability and historical documentation follow trends. New items, initially less desirable, gain value and rarity over time. Collectibles become increasingly sought after until their worth skyrockets, disappearing into collections, and attention shifts to the next big thing. It's a parallel timeline that unfolds alongside history. Eventually, every facet of history undergoes scrutiny by collectors, and when it does, intriguing developments ensue. In 1969, that Patek Philippe 1927 Super Complication fetched $200,000 at auction, equivalent to a staggering $1.5 million today. As the final masterpiece of the pocket watch era, it was logical that the next prized collector's item would be a wristwatch. However, the appearance of a wristwatch at auction caused quite a stir, leaving the highbrow establishment and its pocket watches dumbfounded. This wristwatch, a particularly exceptional perpetual calendar, commanded a record-breaking price, marking the dawn of vintage wristwatch collecting. Exclusive wristwatch auctions gained popularity, and other auction houses quickly followed suit. Now, here's where it gets intriguing. The transition from being new to becoming collectible spans roughly half a century, well on its way to becoming an antique. When the Super Complication went under the hammer, it was 42 years old. The first noteworthy wristwatch at auction appeared 46 years after Patek Philippe's debut in the wristwatch realm. Vintage Rolex collecting truly took off in the late 80s and early 90s, 45 years after the iconic Datejust hit the market. In the past decade, this cycle has reached the 1970s. Collectors have developed an interest in early Royal Oaks, Nautiluses, and 222s, causing prices to surge. However, a significant game changer has emerged this time: the internet. A decade ago, discussions about watches on the internet were confined to collector and enthusiast forums. Today, luxury watches have gained widespread popularity, extending beyond the collector's circle to the broader public. To meet this surging demand, not only vintage Royal Oaks, Nautiluses, and 222s are highly sought after, but also their modern counterparts. The collector mindset has driven up prices as demand outpaces supply. Individuals who, a decade ago, had little knowledge of mechanical wristwatches are now well informed that these three models are sound investments. Watches once reserved for collectors are now coveted by people worldwide, leading to intense competition for ownership. These three watches were insightful. What might the future hold? If history repeats itself, we could witness collectible trends in gold and even quartz timepieces. Share your thoughts in the comments below. And that's a wrap for today. We appreciate your presence here at Ventichic. Please take a moment to like and comment on this video. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you stay in the loop. See you in our next video.